Today we're going to be dealing with graphing equations and linear equations that are in standard form. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. It's in that form where x and y are coordinates. Those are solutions. It's a point. But a, b, and c don't relate to anything else. It doesn't relate to the y-intercept. It doesn't relate to the slope or anything of that nature. The variables a, b, and c don't relate to any of those things. Now, we can find the x-intercept when we plug in 0 for y. So we plug in 0 for y and then solve for x. That would end up giving us the x-intercept. And if we wanted to find the y-intercept, you're going to plug 0 in for x and solve for y, and that would provide you with the y-intercept. So we like that. That's very beneficial. It helps us find the x and y intercepts. So when we find the x and y intercepts, we can plot 2 points, and then we can graph that line. So what we do is we plug in 0 when we want to find the x-intercept. We plug 0 in for y. Well, 5 times 0 makes 0, so this cancels out. And you're left with 8x equals negative 15. And then you divide by 8, and you get x equals negative 1 and, not 4/8, excuse me, 7/8. 7/8. That's not a very pretty one, but the x-intercept. So we go on the x-axis, we go to negative 7/8, negative 1 and 7/8, which is right there, and that would be our first coordinate. So it's negative 1 and 7/8, comma 0. Now, when we want to find the y-intercept, let's change the color. Let's move it up. When we want to find the y-intercept, we're going to plug in 0 for x. And 8 times 0 is 0, so that cancels out. And you're left with 5y equals negative 15. You're going to divide both sides by 5, and you get y equals negative 3. That would be our y-intercept. So we go on the y-axis, we go to negative 3, we make a dot, we label that point 0, negative 3. We have 2 points. We can create a line with 2 arrows. We're going to connect those 2 dots, and that would be my equation for the line. And it's really nice. We like that. It's a very nice, easy, efficient way. What we can do, technically, this is the way that I typically do this problem, is we'll do this. So what I'll do is, to find the x-intercept, I cover up the y value and I solve for x. When I want to find the y-intercept, I cover up the x value and I solve for y. So that's really the easiest way, is just to cover the values. So if you want to find the x-intercept, you cover the y. If you want to find the y-intercept, you cover the x. So you'll see me do that in class. But remember, it has to be in ax plus by equals c format, that format. All right, so what we can do, oh, it's too bad. I don't think I can paste that. Nope, I can't. I know I couldn't do that. I wanted to cover it up again. So if we want to find the x-intercept, you cover up the y and you rewrite that equation. 5x equals negative 16. We divide by 5. You get x equals negative 3 and 1/5. That would be the x-intercept. So x-axis, negative 3 and 1/5 is there. That's negative 3 and 1/5, comma 0. Now when we want to find the y-intercept, well, we'll do it with blue, stay consistent, we cover up the x. So when we want to find the y-intercept, you cover up the x and you write the equation negative 4y equals negative 16. Oh, look at that. Didn't mean to do that one. And you divide by negative 4. I don't want it in green. I still want it in blue. Divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. You get y equals positive 4. That's my y-intercept. So you have 0, 4. Now you're going to make a line with arrows. Excellent. You're going to connect those two dots. Make sure that you have labeled your 2 points and that your line has arrows on it. Good. So that would be number 2. Number 3. Is it in standard form? Yep. Meaning ax plus by equals c. So we cover up the y to find the x-intercept, and that's 7x equals negative 4. Divide by 7, x equals negative 4/7 is going to be my x-intercept. That is just a little bit past half, negative 1/2, so that's my point, negative 4/7, comma 0. Now let's go to my y-intercept. Cover up, we get y equals negative 4. And I don't have to do any work. That actually tells me that my y-intercept is there. So that is 0, negative 4. I got my 2 points. I'm going to do my line, connect those 2 points, and make sure that they are going through those points, and that would be my equation. Number 4. Now we can see this. This one's a little bit easier. We see that the x-intercept is going to be 2 and the y-intercept is going to be 4. So you'll start seeing, you'll see it a little bit easier. So you get x-intercept 2x equals 4 divided by 2, and we get x equals 2. That point is 2, 0. Did I erase this? Yes, good. And my y-intercept, I cross out my x, and I get, again, my y-intercept is going to be 4. So I make a dot, 0, 4, and we connect the dots. And that would be the equation for number 4, all of the solutions. That would be graphing it. This one's a little tricky, and it's tricky because technically this equation is 0x plus y equals 2. So that's how I would look at that equation. So when I cover up, when I find my x-intercept, I cover up the y, and I get 0x equals 2, and we notice you can't divide by 0. That's no solution. You can't divide by. So it doesn't have no x-intercept. That's what we have to be aware of. That is, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to do that. Still can't do that. Let's, oh yeah, yay. Let's do this. Can I select? Thank you. I would like to make that green, please. Good. So in this one, there is no x-intercept. And then when we do my y value, when we cross out the y, or the x, to find the y-intercept, we get y equals 2. That would be my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is going to cross at 2. It's going to cross at 2. And then what we notice here is, hey, there's only one variable. And when there's one variable, that means it's either horizontal or vertical. And we need to know that this is going to be a horizontal line crossing the y-axis. So that would be the graph of that equation. And it still sticks to it. So we see that it still holds true with the technique that we're using. So number 6 is very interesting because it's not in standard form, and we have to convert it to standard form. Convert to standard form. So we have to take this equation, y equals negative 3/4 x minus 4, and we have to get the x and y's on the left side and the constant by itself on the right side. So I'm going to add 3/4 x, add 3/4 x. We get 3/4 x plus y equals negative 4. Now, one of the things that we have to be aware of is standard form. Let's go back to our standard form. In our standard form, a, b, and c must be integers, meaning they have to be whole numbers or their opposites, meaning positive or negative whole numbers. So we're going to use what we learned in the other chapter. I need to get rid of those fractions. I can't have a fraction as my a right here. And it also has to be positive. A has to be positive. B and C can be negative, but A must be positive. So how can I get rid of that fraction? Well, we know how to get rid of fractions in equations by multiplying it by the LCM. What is the multiple of the denominators? 4, 1, and 1. So we multiply everything times 4. 4 times 3/4 x plus 4 times y equals 4 times negative 4. This is what we just worked on in chapter 3. So the 4's are going to cancel. You're left with 3x plus 4y equals negative 16. Now it's in standard form, and now we can find the x and the y intercepts. Let's actually turn this to black. So we can now find the x-intercept. So the x-intercept, we're going to scribble out the y. We get 3x equals negative 16. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And that gives us x equals negative 16/3, which equals negative 5 1/3. That would be my x-intercept. So my negative 5 1/3 on the x-axis, negative 5 1/3. So negative 5 1/3, comma 0. And now let's find the y-intercept. So there's my equation, my standard form equation. I'm using this. I'm going to cross out the x this time, and I'm left, well, let's do y-intercept. So my y-intercept leaves me with 4y equals negative 16. 4y equals negative 16. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Y equals negative 4. So that would be my y-intercept. So, oh, didn't. Let's move that. My y-intercept is negative 4. Y, negative 4. So that is coordinate is 0, negative 4. Let's connect those points. Let's do this first. Let's move you off to the side. So when I draw my line, that's not bad. Just move that a little bit. And now I have graphed that line. Let's do another one. Also not in standard form. So I have to convert that to standard form. I take the equation y equals 6x plus 5. I'm going to minus 6x minus 6x. You get negative 6x plus y equals 5. I can't have my a be a negative number. It has to be positive. So I'm going to multiply everything times negative 1. I have negative 1 times 6x minus 1 times y equals negative 1 times 5. That gives me, sorry, negative 6x. That gives me a positive 6x minus y equals negative 5. That would be my equation in standard form. Standard form, again, needs to be a, b, and c have to be whole numbers or their opposites, and a must be positive. So now I'm able to find the x-intercept, cross out the y, I get 6x equals negative 5, divide by 6, x equals negative 5/6. That's going to be, and I went to the wrong color, Mr. Mac, consistency. Yep, he's a little OCD. All right, so my x-intercept is going to be negative 5/6 on the x-axis. That's negative 5/6, comma 0. Now we want to find the y-intercept. So we're going to cross out the x, and we get negative y equals negative 5. We're going to multiply by negative 1. You get y equals positive 5. That's going to be my y-intercept, positive 5. That's my point, 0, 5. I'm going to connect the dots with arrows. Make sure your lines have arrows to show that there are an infinite number of solutions. So the first thing you're always going to have to do with these problems is put them in standard form first, and then find the x and the y-intercepts. So we again have to convert. So we have we have y equals negative 1/5 x minus 4. We're going to add 1/5 x, add 1/5 x. That gives you 1/5 x plus y equals negative 4. We have to make that, we have to get rid of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply everything times 5. 5 times 1/5 x plus 5 times y equals 5 times negative 4. The 5's cancel. You're left with x plus 5y equals negative 20. That is my equation, my linear equation in standard form. Green first. X-intercept. X-intercept is going to say x equals negative 20. And my y-intercept is going to be 5y equals negative 20. Divide by 5. Y equals negative 4. So that's going to be an interesting intercept to graph on this equation. So that is way the heck over here. Way over here. My y-intercept is negative 4, which is right here. That's fine. So it's going to be some crazy flat line. So we'll have to definitely find problems that can be graphed. But you can still label them properly. So I would still label, and it's, yes, it's way the heck down there. But you would have negative 20 comma 0 as one point, and you're always going to label your intercepts. That's going to be something that I'm going to look for. Here we have again, we see that it's a single variable. So that tells us either it's going to be horizontal or vertical. So we have 0x plus y equals negative 3 would be the standard form. Well, this is technically in standard form, but this helps us when we want to find the x-intercept. We have 0x equals negative 3. Remember, when you divide by 0, that is no solution. Can't divide by 0, so there is no x-intercept. When we do the y-intercept, we cross out the x, and you get y equals negative 3. So my y-intercept is negative 3, and it's going to produce a horizontal line. Don't forget to label your point. 0, negative 3. You only need to label one point when you have a horizontal or vertical equation. Last one. Now this one's also an interesting one. When we put it in standard form, we're going to subtract 1/5 x, and you get negative 1/5 x plus y equals 0. That's always a fun one. Let's multiply everything by -5. Why did I do -5 opposed to 5? Because remember, my first and my a value has to be positive. How do I make that first term positive? I have to multiply it by a negative, because a negative times a negative. So the negatives combine to make a positive. The 5 in the denominator cancels with the 5 in the numerator, and that's going to leave you with x. Oh, sorry, let's do that. -5 times -1/5 x minus 5 times y equals -5 times 0. These cancel. Negative times negative is positive. Leaves you with an x minus 5y equals 0. So that would be your equation in standard form for that starting equation. Remember, those equations are in slope-intercept form. So I want you to convert them to standard, from slope-intercept to standard form. So now when we find the x-intercept, cross out the y, you get x equals 0. When you find your y-intercept, cross out the x, you have -5y equals 0. This will be interesting. Pay attention to this. This is okay. We are dividing by -5 in the denominator. 0 over -5 is 0. So this is another good one. So my x-intercept is 0, which is right there. My y-intercept is 0, which is right there. Now that's a tricky one, because we have to find 2 points in order to graph a line. So this is the one time where we will use the slope of the line to find that second point. This is the only time we use slope to find a point. Otherwise, we're finding points by using the intercepts. So we go up 1, right 5. And there are my 2 coordinates, 5, 1, and 0, 0. Let's, oh, crud. That's the slope. Let's move you guys over a little bit. Bloop, bloop. And right there, let's move you all over a little bit this way. Come on. Let's move you guys over a little bit. Thank you. And let's move this. That's good. Oh, sorry, you're up here. And that's there. And now we can draw our line. Now we can graph our line. That's just trying not to get it into our work, as you see. Good. Okay. So that is number 10. Number 11, notice it is not in standard form. It is not ax plus by equals c. It is -2x equals -15 minus 3y. So I'm going to add the 3y to the other side. I'm going to put my -2x plus 3y equals -15. Now, the numbers are whole numbers, or integers, but I just can't have my a as a negative. So I'm going to multiply it by -1. So if I multiply everything by -1, that becomes 2x minus 3y equals +15. -1 times -1 times -1 is just going to change the signs of each of these. Now it's in standard form. So now we want to find our intercepts. So we'll find the x-intercept. We're going to cancel out the y, which gives us 2x equals 15, divide by 2, and we get x equals 7 1/2. When we want to find the y-intercept, we cancel out the x, which gives us -3y equals 15, divide by -3. Y equals -5. So now I have my x and my y-intercepts. So I'm going to graph them. My x-intercept is 7 1/2. Ran out of space. 7 1/2 is about there. That's not my x, first of all. That's my y. 7 1/2. Running out of space again. Mr. Mac is struggling to find space on his paper. So that is 7.5. No, it's over here, 7 1/2. And then my x, or that's my x-intercept, my y-intercept is -5. I label the point, and I connect the dots. I will add the rest of the problems at a later time. But I think you guys have it. You'll notice that these last problems, hold on, let's go to the next one. These last problems are not in slope-intercept form or standard form, so you have to put them in standard form. That's actually close to standard form. We can't have a -a, and etc. Number 12, again, we have to get it in standard form. So we'll take this, let's make this a little bit smaller, just to make it a little bit easier to write stuff. So we have 5y equals -25 minus x. Let's move that variable over because we want our x and y to be on the same side. And our constant, a, b, and c are all integers, and a is positive, so we're okay. So we can do our x-intercept. And that x-intercept equation would be x equals 25, and my y-intercept, that would be 5y equals -25. Let's divide by 5, and we get y equals -5. So we have an x-intercept of -25, which is way down here, which is 0, -25, and we have a y, whoops, sorry. That's going to be, sorry, that's not what it's going to be. X-intercept, that's going to be way over here, which is -25, 0. And a y-intercept of -5, which is going to be there. That's 0, -5. And let's do that. And that's what my equation, those are the two intercepts that you should have. Number 13, ooh, I like this one. This is close to standard form, but my a is negative. So I'm going to have to multiply everything times -1. So I have -1 times -3x minus 1 times 4y equals -1 times 0. That gives me 3x minus 4y equals 0. That makes my x-intercept 0, my y-intercept, let's do this, sorry, intercept equals 0. My y-intercept also equals 0. So I know that one of my points is there. And now, again, it's hard. Now we don't see a slope. Now we don't see a y-intercept or any other secondary point. So this is a crazy one because it is in our best interest to find out what the slope is. I'm going to add 3x. I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form. This kind of contradicts why we're doing it. However, we will learn why we are doing all this. So my slope is 3/4, up, rise 1, 2, 3, run 4. So there's my other point. It is not an intercept, but it is a secondary point. So we have the point 0, 0, and we have the point 4, 3. Let's connect the dots, and that would be my graph for number 13. Number 14. Number 14 is going to look like this. It's not in slope-intercept form, standard form, because it has a -a value. So how do I get rid of that negative as my a? I multiply everything times -1, which gives me 3x minus y equals -3. My x-intercept is going to be 3x equals -3, or x equals -1. My y-intercept ends up being -y equals -3, or y equals +3. So I have an x-intercept of -1, a y-intercept of 3. I'm going to connect those dots. I have the point 0, 3 and negative 1, 0. And number 15. Number 15 is not in standard form. It is negative 3x equals negative 3 plus y. Let's move the y over. That gives me negative 3x minus y equals negative 3. My a is not positive, so that gives me 3x plus y equals positive 3. My x-intercept equals 1, and my y-intercept equals 3. That's how fast and easy we can graph that from this equation. That's really beneficial. Therein lies one of the most efficient. My y-intercept is 3, my x-intercept is 1. So 0, 3, 1, 0. Those are my 2 points that I should have for my equation. All right, hopefully that helps. Enjoy. Come and see me if you got a question.